ePresence. This show is produced by ePresence, and I am Mark Galvin, the president of that firm. This is our show that we started last month, where we partnered with SPIRE. SPIRE is a networking group that we have agreed to feature their speakers every month, once a month, where we bring them on and we have a little chat with them. And what happens this evening? So here we are on the first Thursday. It's the second Thursday of the month, but they typically meet on the first Thursday of the month, where we sit down, we have a great networking group and bring in fantastic speakers. And we like to feature those speakers early so that all of those members get a little sneak peek. And you, our audience here on How Is Your ePresence, get also an opportunity to meet them because they're always fantastic speakers. What do we do on How's Your ePresence? If you've been here before, you know we talk about ways to help businesses do things a little better. Be sure to go back and check out our library. You can find it on YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn. We're typically running shows live on either Tuesdays or Thursdays. Tuesdays at 10 and Thursdays at 3. This one's a little bit of an outlier. But listen, if you're joining us live, we would love for you to join in and submit questions. So throw in questions there in the chat box. I'll click that button there so we can see them. And we will ask your questions live of our guests. So please to throw those in there. Also, we'd love for you to subscribe to How's Your ePresence. And the reason is, when we go live, you get the notification that we are live. So hit that button down there. I think it's over here. Hit that button down there. There we go. And subscribe to How's Your ePresence so you know when we are going live. Well, let me tell you a little bit about our guest today. The guest and speaker for SPIRE this evening is Jeff Bartholomew. He is with a company called Everest Business Coaching. He's actually the founder of that organization, and they help business owners, help them grow revenues, increase profits, drive key efficiencies, and build strong, accountable teams. Sounds like something I need. Prior to founding Everest Business Coaching, Jeff worked as a consultant with Williams-Sonoma and launching a new brand, and I remember this, West Elm Workspace. He spent 30 years with Steelcase in sales leadership, and global sales in management roles. While he's a coach, he has done over 2,000 hours of coaching. This is someone who is extremely experienced in his space. Jeff is a certified business coach and is the founder and owner of Everest Business Coaching. So stick around. We're going to talk to Jeff about some great things today. You don't want to miss this. We're going to get into why he started the businesses that he did, get a little bit of a sense of what he'll be talking about tonight in SPIRE, and he's going to help people do a little more with their life. What keeps people? We're going to get into what keeps people from their bigger life. What does that mean? So stick around. We'll find that out. Once again, please subscribe. Hit that button down there at the bottom. If you want to ask a question, be sure to ask our guest. You can just pop right in there and put that in the chat box. And our producer extraordinary, Morgan, will wave at me from off the screen and say, "We got a question." So please do ask us some questions. Well, let's no longer wait on Jeff. You guys have heard enough from me. Let's bring him on. Jeff, welcome. How are you, sir?
I'm well. Thank you for having me today, Mark. I really appreciate it.
I am thrilled you are here. You and I know each other. We did a little bit of work. You've got a networking group that you run, and you're down south of Atlanta. What's the name of that group?
The South Atlanta Business Association. We were thrilled to have you as a speaker about a year ago.
Has it already been that long?
I think it has.
Goodness gracious. Well, I am thrilled to see you on the docket for SPIRE, and can't wait to hear you talk a little bit tonight. But let's jump into some of these things that I'd like to talk about. The first is, how did you get into business?
That's a great question. You know, for anyone that's thinking about getting into business, you have to take a leap of faith, obviously. And I spent 30 years in the corporate world, as you mentioned, and then I went on to Williams-Sonoma. And when that gig was up, that was a 16-month engagement. I knew that I wanted to do something on my own, and I looked around looked about myself and what I thought I was good at and what my experience was. And it was a natural fit to become a business coach. I'd been the director of global sales. I'd been the director of coaching and development at Steelcase. And in addition to that, I'd been trained in business diagnostics, excuse me.
That's
Words,
hard to say.
It is. It really is. But I've been trained on how to help people identify issues within their business. So coaching was a natural fit. And so about a little over 6 years ago, I started this practice.
Wow. So a little over 6 years ago. And wait a minute. And I do think, a little sidebar, did you start a side venture with golf?
I did. I have a second business we started about a year ago. It's called Royal Links Golf Tours. And we send people on their trip of a lifetime, an unforgettable experience of golf in the British Isles, Scotland, England, Ireland, and Wales. I have a partner, Hayden Moore, and that's up and running, and it's booming.
That is fantastic. Oh, I love that. If we can, maybe we'll get into a little bit of that. That sounds like a little bit of a dream, kind of like a fun side hustle, but that's cool. So you're going to be speaking tonight at SPIRE. Thank you for joining us. What are you going to talk about tonight?
Well, I want to talk about excellence in execution. And I know that a lot of people might think you're going to tell us how to do things more efficiently, more effectively even. And really, it starts well before that. So I've got a subtitle for that program tonight, and it's called Living a Bigger Life. And that's what it's about. There's no point in doing more work if it's not contributing to you having a bigger life. And I can't define what your bigger life is or someone else's bigger life. I can define what my bigger life is. And I've done that, and I've tried to live that bigger life. And the techniques that I've used are things that I'll share. And it's not just what I've done, but what I've observed other successful people do. And so that's what I'll be sharing tonight.
Now, you said something, and I think this is interesting. You really let the listener define a bigger life. Right. What are some examples of a bigger life that you've seen people discuss in the past?
Well, it could be something as simple. Well, I don't want to say simple, but it could be something like someone wants to start a business like you and I did.
Right.
Take a walk away from the corporate world and start their own business. It could be traveling around the world. It could be starting a family. It could be taking a risk. It's something that they've been afraid of, skydiving, scuba diving. It could be contributing to charities or nonprofits in a big way. It really is up to that individual. But I think at the end of our lives, we don't want to have lived just an ordinary life. We want to have accumulated experiences and impacted the world in a bigger way. Many of us do anyway. And so it's up to you to define what that is. And then I'll show you some ways that you might achieve that.
Oh, that's really cool. Yeah, I would think that as with having over 2,000 hours of coaching, and that's probably an old number. That's probably up to 3,000, something tells me. Yeah. What have you seen, just some anecdotal things, what have you seen is keeping people from their bigger life? Is there a common theme here?
Absolutely. Absolutely. The number one thing is that they don't know where they're going. They haven't defined that bigger life. So they get up every morning and they play whack-a-mole all day, right? Things pop up and they take care of them. And at the end of the day, they go home and their spouse or significant other says, "How was your day?" "Oh, I was busy. I got a lot done." But did it really contribute to where you want to be in life? Whether that it's starting a business or scuba diving or any of those ways that you might define a bigger life. And that's what I wanted to get away from. I wanted to get away from living an ordinary life and living an extraordinary life. But to start that, you've got to know where you're going.
And I would think that everybody along that journey is probably, or hopefully, I would say, looking for a bigger life. People that are trying to achieve whatever is that next dream, reaching for something. And I guess, you know what? I guess if they're really not reaching for something, they're probably not a good audience for this talk, are they? If they're just satisfied and content where they are, they're probably
Right.
not a good audience, right?
Right. But I think you said an important word. It may be a bit cliche, but it starts with a dream. What do you
Right.
dream about? Right.
Yeah.
What is that aspiration that you have? But for most of us, it starts with a dream. I dream of starting a business. I dream of going to Scotland to play golf. I dream of kissing my wife under the Eiffel Tower. I dream of having brunch on the Amalfi Coast. All these things can become reality if you can define it and then put a plan in place on how to do it.
I think that's really cool. That's very cool. All right. So, what advice do you have for people who do want to live that bigger life?
Okay. Well, for me, the way that and what I'll be talking about tonight is that for me, there are 5 steps to doing that.
Huh.
The first is, one, you got to define that bigger life. What is your bigger life? And you've got to be very clear about that. Second thing would be to build a plan, a long-term and a short-term plan, because you're not going to get there in a day, or you're not going to get there overnight. So there are interim steps along the way of things that you need to do, things that you should do. And so you got to start by building a plan. That's 2. Number 3, you have to eliminate the less important things in your life. It's the concept of addition by subtraction. So as an example, when I started my second company, the Royal Links Golf Tours, so let's say I spend 15 hours a week on that. I can't just throw that on top of what I'm already doing. I have to eliminate some things.
Sure.
So I had to be very conscious about taking things off of my plate so that I could make room for more important things, like starting that business. The fourth thing is that you have to prioritize every day. So as I prioritize my day is aimed at achieving that bigger life. What is it that I want to achieve? So every day I prioritize my day, A through D. A's are those things I must get done, those important things, those difficult things. B's are things that are nice to do. C's are things that if I don't do them, they don't affect me or anybody else. And D's are things that I can delegate. So I want to make sure that I'm very conscious about how I invest my time. And then the final thing is that I have to take action every day towards that bigger life. So I'm not going to skip days where I'm making progress towards that bigger life. Now, it doesn't have to be something big or time consuming, but I need to be doing that. I need to be taking action every day. So as an example, if someone said, I want to take my whole family to Greece for my parents' my parents' 40th wedding anniversary, let's say, or 50th wedding anniversary. And that's in 4 years. So they need to start saving money. They need to start determining where do they want to go in Greece. Do they want to go to the mainland? Do they want to go to the islands? Do they want to take a cruise? So you can be doing things every day along the way. You can be getting the people that are going to be going on that trip excited about it. You can, there are hundreds, thousands of things that you can be doing each day to make sure that you're taking steps towards achieving that bigger life.
I love that. I think that's fantastic. It all starts with a goal, something you have to work towards. And the prioritizing a day, I think that is something that we're all trying to hone our skills of doing that. I think that's hard because there are so many things, as you say, the whack-a-mole of how do you get rid of things off of your plate to make sure you have time to do the things that will help you achieve that bigger life. It's just not easy. And hearing some advice on that is fantastic. So tell me about your practice. And one of the things about your practice is behind you, you have those sticky notes that are back there. What does that represent? I think that's really interesting.
Nothing. It's just there to throw you off. No. I took a class at IDEO, which is arguably the world's best industrial design firm. And they've put together a way of critical thinking, the way that they go about solving complex problems. And they've created a university, IDEO University. And I took a class there called Storytelling for Influence. So every time that I do a presentation, the one that I'm doing tonight, I create it, first of all, in the way that I've done behind me. So I take a big flip chart, I create a tagline for my movie, and I create a movie in my mind of how tonight is going to go.
Huh.
And then those individual sticky notes are scenes in the movie or ideas that I want to make sure that I get across. So I just brainstorm and I put up as many ideas as I can. I put a red X through them if I'm not going to use them. Those fall down to the bottom onto the cutting room floor, if you will. And then I arrange the ones that remain in the order that I'd like to have my movie play. And that's what all those are. So my office is literally wallpapered in outlines for presentations that I've done.
Yeah, for those of you that are listening to this and not watching, behind Jeff, there are, I see flip charts. And so your flip charts, you buy the expensive ones. They're like the Post-it flip charts. So you can rip off a big page and stick it on the wall. So he's got flip charts paper stuck to his wall. And I see there are 8 that I can see in view.
Correct.
And on those, he has sticky notes. Well, we can't read what it says, but you can tell that he's written ideas around so he can move those sticky notes around. It's really brilliant. And it's very visual. And I think that the visual piece of that has to be very effective. It reminds me of Scrum, right? Scrum is sort of the same thing. You say, okay, I'm done with this. I'm going to grab this sticky note and it'll be in the progress pile. But that's not Scrum. This is your, it looks like it's your way you are able to harness your creativity.
Exactly. I think and I think it's important. I do it every time I do a presentation, even if I've done that presentation a dozen times, because each audience is different. Each customer that hires me is different. Each organization that I work with, like SPIRE, has a different message that they want to get across.
Right.
So I want to customize each one. Now, I may use the same ideas for the basis, but I always want to customize it, make sure that I'm hitting the points that whoever hired me wants me to hit.
I love that. Okay, great. Give me a little information about your practice. I'd love to get a feel for who your clients are and how you grew it.
Okay, that's a great question. When I started, I thought I was going to be a business coach. And obviously I am a business coach. And as a business coach, I typically carry about a dozen clients, one-on-one clients. I do have a small group practice as well, where I have a group. We get together twice a month for an hour, and we brainstorm ideas on one another's business. I present some new material.
Oh, that's
the coaching practice, and it's good. And then what I didn't realize was that I'd also be doing training. And so about 9 months into my practice, someone said, "Hey, could you do some sales training?" Well, with 30 years in sales leadership, that was an easy decision. Sure, I could train some people in sales. And so I created a second part of the practice that is around different types of things that companies want, whether it's communication skills training, sales training, leadership training, personal development, time management, things like that. Now, the difference between these two sides of the practice is that I have 2 very different ideal clients. So on the coaching side, these are small business owners typically. So I work with, well, like I said, about a dozen small business owners right now. They all have different issues. They tend to be professional services firms, medical practices, law firms, marketing agencies, e-commerce stores, or platforms, I should say, organizations like that. On the training side, I also, I've got a different target market, and that is Fortune 500 companies. They've got large budgets for training, and they hire me to do all different types of training. Now, I also do training for those small business owners. So there's a client that I have in Marietta called ID8. They've got about a dozen employees, and I've trained all of them on sales, and I've trained all of them on communication skills. So I do work with my smaller business owners as well.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that. One of the things, and this is a question that I always like to ask. There's the old feeling that if you're not making mistakes, you're not learning. I think Henry Ford coined a great quote there. So I'd love to ask you this. What business mistake have you made that, through the lessons that it taught, still helps you succeed today?
Yeah. Well, I think it's kind of a two-part question. When you start a business like you did or I did, you need a runway of cash, right? Because you've taken a leap of faith. You've made the decision, I'm walking away from corporate America and I'm going to start supporting myself. And so a mistake that I see a lot is not having enough runway, not enough cash to get the business going. And what that prevents you from doing, or forces you to do, is to do a lot of things yourself that if you had some cash, you'd let other people do. So, an example of that would be people don't hire a business coach, which is a mistake, selfishly. They don't hire someone like you to help with social media. They try to develop their website themselves. They don't hire an accountant. They don't hire a lawyer. They don't hire, and I'm not saying a lawyer on retainer, but a lawyer to help set up the organization.
Sure.
They don't hire a bookkeeper, and so that bogs people down and keeps them from earning money, right? It's kind of a catch-22. If I'm spending 15 hours a week doing all of that, when am I spending time with clients or trying to attract new clients? And so,
a great point. That's a great point. I will say that I struggle with it. I run the same problem constantly, that I'm trying to do things that if I had more cash flow at times, I would give to somebody else. So that's a very good point.
I think a great example is this, what we're doing today, Mark. Can I do a podcast on my own? Sure. Would it be this professional? Would it have the impact that I want? Probably not. And the same is true with my practice. Could someone coach themselves or run a business by themselves? Yeah, but it would be better with a coach. Would my financials look better if I had an accountant and a bookkeeper? Would my website be better if I'd hired someone professionally? The first website that I did, my daughter and I built it, and
good way to start.
Well,
her pay, her salary was probably easy to absorb.
Exactly, it was. I think dinner and a bottle of wine or something. Very shortly after that, within 6 months, I hired a professional to do it and haven't looked back. That's the way to go. Have enough cash to start your business and let other people do the things that you're not good at and keep you from building your business and earning money.
Oh, I think that's brilliant. All right, one more question, and then we'll give it a wrap here. This has been a great conversation, and I love what you're sharing. What is the one thing you would tell a new entrepreneur, employee, and this may be, and it may have been just what you shared, but what one thing would you tell a new entrepreneur or employee, manager, or leader is the most important skill in today's workplace? So what do you think is the most important skill in today's workplace?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the skill is for people to determine, or to be able to determine, what's the one thing. There's a wonderful book that Gary Keller wrote called The One Thing. And I share that with many of my clients. And the idea is that you have to identify the one thing. So if it's in your bigger life, what's the one thing that you want to do, the one thing that you want to achieve? And when I take that down on a daily basis, what's the one thing that I really have to get done today? That if I don't get done is stopping my business. So if I can focus on that one thing, I can really be successful. And that is a skill that many people don't have. We get up, we jump on multiple analogies, right? Or metaphors. We jump on the hamster wheel. We play whack-a-mole all day. And that's not getting us where we need to be to lead a bigger life. It's not getting us to where we want to be financially. And it's preventing us from being happy, to be honest with you.
I love that, and that is a constant struggle. I think for any business person who is still growing their business, that's not an easy choice. Sometimes I know without a doubt, I have 10 things to do in a day, and I think all of them are important. And even when you try to filter those out, they all seem to be important to trying to figure out how to make more money, how to grow the company. So great point. I love that.
There's Mark, real quick. I've got a great slide tonight. Let's take one sec.
Okay, good.
And it's a person spinning plates. If you've ever seen, one of these entertainers that spin plates.
The ones that have like a little thing and they're spinning the plate on it?
Exactly.
Okay, yeah.
That's a great metaphor for our days and how we don't prioritize our time, because to that person, every one of those plates is important, right?
Right.
But the tasks that we're doing every day, not all of them are that important. What's the one that's most important? That if that plate fell, would ruin your day, would prevent you from living your bigger life.
Oh, nice.
So don't keep
all
the
analogy.
Plates. Keep the big one, the most important one up.
And especially if that big one falls, it'll break, and that could really hurt your feet.
Yeah, it could. That's a good point.
Just saying. Jeff, where do you want people to go to find you? Do you like to talk about your website that you mentioned before, or do you want people to find you on social? Where's the best place for people to go?
All of the above. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Facebook. I've got a website, everestbusinesscoaching.com. You can find me at all three places. I do a little bit on Twitter and a little bit on Instagram, but primarily those first three are where you can find me. And I'm happy to help.
And we will put all of your contact information in the show notes, but that was everestbusinesscoaching.com.
Correct.
And looking at you on LinkedIn, you're Jeff Bartholomew 1 on
Correct.
LinkedIn is your handle, so folks can find you there. But anyone if you're watching this and you want to track him down, look at our show notes. We'll have that posted right after the show. We're also going to drop this as a podcast, Jeff. We'll get that out there today as a podcast so folks can listen to this, hopefully on the way into the SPIRE event tonight. And if you're not a member of SPIRE, or if you're not able to join us, no worries. You can tune in every month on the first Thursday, typically, depending on holidays. On the first Thursday of every month, we will meet with the speaker for SPIRE that evening, like we have with Jeff, and have a chat with them. So, Jeff, thank you so much for joining us here today. I love the information that you've shared. I can't wait to see you share even more more tonight. Hang out. I'd like to do a little quick button down after the show. I'm going to close out with a little bit of information, but thank you for being here. I appreciate you, sir.
Mark, thank you for having me. Thanks for your professionalism. I really appreciate it. I'm looking forward to being there tonight with you and everybody else.
Outstanding. Thanks again. So for the rest of you folks, this is what we do on How's Your ePresence. We like to bring on some spectacular guests. This partnership with SPIRE is fantastic because it helps us connect with new people that have fantastic content. And that's our goal. Give you content that you can use in your life, that you can use in business, that you can help extend your own digital marketing reach. What do we do at ePresence? At ePresence, we're a full-service social media agency. We help companies, individuals get online, stay online, and achieve their ROI. We offer consulting. We offer webinars. And we even have an eForensics division where we help lawyers gather data that they need off of social to help them in any cases that they may be litigating. If you're watching this, and this is true for SPIRE people as well as all of our regular guests, just by being a How's Your ePresence listener, you get a 5% discount on all our services. You can simply go to our website and plug in How's Your ePresence on the website. What is that link, Morgan? I can't remember that. There it is, e-pr.me/listener. If you go to that link, you'll get the 5% discount and be able to see all that information. So back to the show here. We are everywhere for How's Your ePresence. We are on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Be sure to subscribe. I know we bring this up all the time. You'll hear people saying, I always go the wrong way. It's over there. Hit that subscribe button so you know when we go live and you can ask our guests questions. If you're a podcast listener, you can go to our website, ePresence.me/podcast, and you can find all the locations for our podcast. We drop one every single week. Every Friday, we're dropping a brand new podcast. You can always go to our website to track down any of our shows. This show is produced by Morgan Wood. She is our producer, writer, and social media extraordinaire. Until next time, for my guest, Jeff Bartholomew, I'm Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence?